I remember the sound before anything else. Not the screaming. Not the explosions. Not the sirens. It was the sound of absence. The stillness. Before annihilation. It was 5:03 p.m., September 21st, 2091. The day the sky bled. I was in Manhattan, standing in line for rationed water, when the first wave hit. The clouds, once swollen with acid haze and radiation dust, cracked open like an egg, vomiting metallic shapes that shimmered like living obsidian. At first, no one understood what they were seeing. We stared up in silence, blinking into the dark light. Then came the shockwave. Glass liquefied. Concrete folded like paper. People vanished mid-sentence. In less than an hour, Earth's major cities were gone. Manhattan, Shanghai, Lagos, Moscow, Sydney all turned to vapor trails and blackened craters. The architects had arrived. That's what we call them now. We don't know what they call themselves, if they even use names. They never spoke, never negotiated. No warnings, no demands. Just an intelligence that seemed designed to dismantle our existence one atom at a time. The first few weeks were a blur. The death toll was uncountable. Our defenses, obsolete. Satellites blinked out. Nuclear silos were destroyed before we could even enter launch codes. They moved like thoughts, faster than anything our minds could track. I lost my sister that first night, Ava. She was only 14. We were in the sub-basement of a transit hub near Midtown. She was curled next to me in the dark, our breaths slow, shallow, like animals hiding from predators. Then, a hum, a vibration, a soft, strange, chime-like wind through crystal. She opened her eyes. They found mine. She smiled. And then she was gone, not killed. Erased. The air shimmered where she had been. No blood. No scream. No goodbye. Just ... nothing. That was the first time I broke, not cried. Broke. As in, something inside me snapped so loud I could feel the sound echo in my bones. I wanted to scream, but there wasn't enough world left to scream into. I didn't move for 3 days. When I finally did, the world was different. Not in the usual post-apocalyptic way, either. This wasn't nuclear winter. It wasn't plague. It wasn't war. It was precision deletion. These things weren't destroying to conquer. They were deleting us like corrupt files. By October, the human population had dropped below 500 million. Most of them underground. Most of them broken, starving, or dying slowly from exposure. And me, I kept walking. Why? Because I didn't want to be human anymore. I wanted to be something else. Something dangerous. Something worth fearing. I found the resistance in what used to be Denver. Now it's just a hole ringed by shattered mountains and scorched skies. But a tunnel runs beneath the bones of that city. And down there, I met the first people who still spoke in full sentences. Name. A voice growled in the dark. Cole. Jason. Cole. A light flared. Not electric chemical. He held a magnesium torch in a gloved hand. Visor hiding his face. Military. Used to be. 27th Tactical Response. What happened to your squad? Vaporized. And yours? Same. Come on, we've got food. I stepped inside, and the world changed again. They weren't soldiers anymore. None of us were. We were ghosts, wearing old uniforms. Scars and burns on our skin. Radiation tattoos. Eyes too tired to blink. But we were alive. And that meant something. We built plans from scraps. Atomic stockpiles buried in vaults no one remembered. Hacked architect tech we barely understood. We called ourselves the Scorch Line Last Defense. Before the world goes fully dark, I volunteered for the first run. They said it was suicide. A recon mission into one of the Blue Zone's areas fully controlled by the architects, where the very air crackled with distortion fields. But I didn't care. I needed to see them up close. I needed to understand what took Ava, what erased half the species, what turned the planet into a memory. I crossed the zone threshold at 0400 hours, wearing a radiation-hardened exosuit powered by a hybrid cold-core reactor, a pulse rifle on my back, 3 EMP grenades at my belt, and a last resort nuke sealed in my spinal pack. One step in, and the sky changed. Colors shouldn't bend like that. Trees hovered 6 inches off the ground. Rivers flowed upward. Dead birds floated in loops, endlessly reversing time as if stuck in a broken frame. And then I saw an architect that didn't walk. It unfolded limbs that weren't limbs. A face that was a shifting fractal of symmetrical terror. No mouth, no eyes. Just a presence that screamed across every nerve in my body. It turned toward me. I aimed the pulse rifle. And for a moment, just a moment, it paused. That hesitation saved me. Asterisk, I launched an EMP. It worked. The architect buckled, spasmed, and then glitched before flickering out of visibility. Not dead. Just ... Gone. But I knew something they didn't. They could be hurt. They could be fought. And if they could be fought, ... they could be killed. That was the beginning ... of the end. And maybe, just maybe ... of our rebirth. It started with a whisper in the dark. Not fear. Not panic. Hope. After the Blue Zone incursion, word spread like wildfire. The architects can be hurt. No one believed it at first. Most still don't. But those who saw the drone footage, who analyzed the glitch patterns, who decoded the microspikes in gravitational fluctuation, they knew, and they found me. I didn't want to lead. That's the truth. But when the world is ash and the sky is a memory, people look to anyone still standing. And I was still standing. Not because I was the strongest. Not the smartest. Hell, not even the sanest. Just the last one who kept walking. The scorch line grew. Denver's bunker tunnels became arteries for resistance. Survivors from shattered outposts staggered in daily. Engineers, farmers, hackers, medics, even a few kids. What we lacked in numbers, we made up for in desperation and defiance. And then we found the relic. It was buried under the old Air Force Academy near Colorado Springs. Dormant architect node. Half melted into the mountain. Still humming with residual quantum current. Took 6 of our best techs to get it operational. What we uncovered changed everything. Blueprints. Not for weapons. Not exactly, for interfaces. Control protocols. Symbolic languages. Data that interpreted itself. With it, we started building. Not copies, we didn't understand enough for that. But hybrids, retrofits, patchwork tools, powered by fusion and intuition. We called the first unit Torch. A plasma lance integrated with alien magnetic lattice. Control. Handheld, lethal. And mine first mission was small. In and out. A supply raid on an architect hive in the Utah salt flats. Minimal resistance. 6 of us went in. 5 came out. But we came out with cores. Architect cores. Living memory matrices. We couldn't read them yet. But one of our kid named Ren with implants half-ride from past skirmishes claimed. They were starting to talk to him in dreams. He wasn't crazy. He was right. The data was alive. Not sentient, but responsive. It reshaped based on proximity, emotion, even intent. We were learning. And the architects were watching. It wasn't long before they retaliated. A triple storm hit our New Mexico relay. Just ... Erased, everyone gone. No trace. Not even ash. Only thing left was a humming note recorded in our sensor logs. A sound that shouldn't exist. We called it the siren. Pure data. Weaponized resonance. One frequency to end thought. But this time, we were ready. We built jammers. Big, ugly things cobbled from salvaged microwave towers and alien resonance plates. They screamed back. It worked, sort of. Our next op lost only 2, instead of 40. Still too many. Still too much. But a start. Leadership is a lie. At least the way we used to think of it. Commanding from podiums. Orders over radios. Now, leadership is staying alive long enough for someone to copy your scars. Leadership is bleeding in front of others so they don't feel alone in their pain. I didn't want to lead, but I did. Because every time I looked at them, Matt Ren. At Mara, the combat surgeon. At Ven, who'd lost both legs, but still ran logistics with sharper precision than any AI. Saw the end of our story refusing to be written. Hope doesn't come in speeches, it comes in silence. In the nods between fighters. In the hiss of a fusion rig turning over. In the thrum of a stolen architect skimmer lifting off the hangar floor for its first human-piloted mission. I rode with them that night. It was a covert hit on a relay spire, north of what used to be Minneapolis. They called it the Glass Tower. 300 meters of crystallized sound and light. We weren't trying to destroy it. We were trying to listen. And what we heard broke something in me. I didn't know could still break. It wasn't code, not pure, not structured. It was a voice. An architect's signal with pattern, emotion, pain, a distress call. They weren't just erasing us. They were running from something. Back at base, I sat alone in the dark, torch across my lap, listening to the audio loop on repeat. Ren joined me eventually. You hear it too, huh? He asked. Yeah, I whispered. They're scared. Of us. No, of something else. He looked at me then, eyes glowing faintly from the implant flicker. What do we do? I stared into the dark, into the walls that still echoed. With all we had lost, and all we might still lose, we fight, we adapt, and we find whatever's chasing them. Because if it could make them afraid, we had to know what it was, and whether it was worse than extinction. There was no dawn, not anymore. Just the permanent twilight of an earth cracked and scorched by alien fire, where shadows stretched too long, and the stars pulsed with unspoken warnings. Yet, even here, in the ash-choked dark, we moved. We were ghosts. And it was time to haunt our invaders. The architect fleet had begun massing above the Arctic Circle. A dozen motherships, each the size of a small continent, wrapped in orbit and tethered to space via energy conduits that reached deep into the crust. They weren't mining. They were preparing for final erasure. We called the plan Operation Lazarus. We would hit their central control node, a cluster of dimensional anchors inside the core of the largest ship, codenamed Obsidian Prime. It wasn't suicide. It was something worse, a one-way trip. I led a team of 13 veterans, survivors, legends among the ruins. Ren, still haunted by alien dreams. Mara, carrying the last field-grown nanomeds. Vin, mounted in a bipedal warframe he built from melted drones. Each one of us carried something to destroy, or something to remember. We launched from the Colorado uplands in a stolen architect transport. Its hull partially human-repaired, its interface still growling in tones we barely understood. It flew like it hated us, which felt right as we neared the upper edge of the stratosphere. We saw them, the fleet, a cathedral of death, hanging above the planet, thrumming with impossible energy. They weren't ships. They were expressions of physics. We barely had words for our stealth held barely, and then we were inside. The interior of Obsidian Prime was a shifting hellscape of metal and light, corridors that restructured behind us, gravity loops that bent time, sound that whispered in languages that could break sanity. Ren was our guide. Left, he said at every junction, head tilted, as if listening to the pulse of the walls. It wants us to see it. It, I asked. The heart. The architect of the architects. We reached the core. The heart was, alive. Not flesh. Not machine. Both. Neither. Suspended in quantum foam, throbbing with dimensional threads that pulled reality into shape. We planted the bomb. Then it spoke. Not in sound, in thought. Why persist? A dozen of us collapsed, minds burning under the weight of alien inquiry. I stayed on my feet. Barely. Because we remember, I said aloud. Because we choose to exist. The heart shifted. We ran, it said. Not from you. From what follows. I saw it then, a vision of something vast, older than time, devouring galaxies like sparks in a storm. A predator of civilizations. The architects had come here not to destroy us, but to hide. And their presence had doomed us all. You brought it here, I growled. We became the lure. The heart pulsed. Destroy us, and it will find you next. I looked at Ren. He was bleeding from his ears, smiling. Do it, he mouthed. Mara nodded too. So did Vin. We were humanity. We were the answer to fear. I activated the device. Light, pain, silence. I woke up months later, in orbit, aboard a human station rebuilt from the debris of the Obsidian wreckage. The heart was gone, the fleet gone, the planet bellow-scarred, but breathing. Only 3 of us survived. Me, Mara, and a newborn child. Born in the dark during the waiting hours. We called her Ava. Now, I walk the forests growing back over old battlefields, listen to wind and new leaves. Sometimes I still hear echoes of that alien voice, wondering if the great predator still hunts in the void. But we'll be ready. Because we fought the possible. And we won at a cost. But with purpose, and in that purpose we remain. Human. Unbroken.